Captain Jake Morrison stood at the viewing platform of Kepler Station, watching his ship dock at the outer ring. The UES Defiance looked small next to the alien vessels. Its gray hull was dented and scratched from years of service. The ship was only 300 meters long, barely bigger than a fishing boat compared to the massive alien warships around it. Morrison ran his hand through his dark hair and checked his watch. The diplomatic meeting would start in 2 hours. He hoped this would go better than their last encounter with alien civilizations. Behind him, the station's main corridor buzzed with activity. Aliens of every shape and size walked past, speaking, in languages he didn't understand. "Captain, the resupply is almost finished," Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez said as she approached. She was young, maybe 28, with sharp eyes and confidence that came from 3 years of combat experience. "Chief Turner wants to speak with you about the engine modifications." "Tell him I'll be down in 10 minutes, Morrison replied. He took one last look at the alien ships. The largest was the Kethtar vessel called Worldbreaker. It stretched over 2 kilometers long, its black hull covered in weapon turrets. The ship looked like it could destroy planets. 3 Velhari cruisers floated nearby like silver arrows. Everyone knew Velhari ships were the fastest in the galaxy. Their crews were proud of their speed and agility. Next to them sat a Bruthan battleship, thick with armor plating. The Bruthans believed in heavy protection and bigger guns. Morrison turned away from the window and headed for the lift that would take him to his ship. As he walked, he heard voices speaking in broken English. A group of alien officers stood near a cafe pointing at the human ship and laughing. "Look at that piece of junk," one of them said. Morrison recognized the voice. Admiral Zektor of the Kethtar fleet was a 7-foot-tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms. His race had ruled this part of space for thousands of years. How did such a primitive species even reach the stars? Maybe they found the technology floating in space, another voice added. This came from Commander Silana, a Velhari with pale blue skin and large eyes. Humans are barely more advanced than animals. They still fight wars with chemical explosives. Morrison kept walking, but his jaw tightened. He had heard these comments before. Every time humans visited alien space, they faced the same mockery. The aliens saw human ships as crude and ugly. They laughed at human weapons and called human tactics primitive. The truth was different. Human ships were built for function, not beauty. Every part had a purpose. Every system was designed to work even when damaged. Morrison had seen alien vessels break down from simple component failures. Human ships kept fighting even with half their systems destroyed. He entered the lift and pressed the button for his ship's docking bay. As the doors closed, he heard more laughter from the alien officers. They were probably sharing stories about human stupidity. Let them laugh, Morrison thought. They would change their minds soon enough. The lift opened at the docking tube, connecting to the Defiance. Morrison walked through the airlock and onto his ship. The familiar smell of recycled air and machine oil greeted him. The corridors were narrow and practical. Every inch of space was used for something important. Chief Engineer Alex Turner met him at the main corridor. Turner was a thin man in his 40s with grease stains on his uniform. He carried a tablet full of technical readouts. "Captain, the modifications are complete. All the new systems are online and tested." "Good work, Chief," Morrison said. "How much of an advantage will they give us?" Turner smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Let's just say the aliens are going to be very surprised. The new engine system alone will double our acceleration. The weapons upgrades, well, you'll see when we test them." Morrison nodded. The Defiance looked like a simple frigate, but over the past year, Turner and his team had rebuilt almost everything inside. New engines, new weapons, new defense systems. The ship's computer had been upgraded with experimental AI technology. From the outside, it looked the same. The aliens would never suspect the changes. "Captain Morrison to the bridge," came a voice, over the ship's speakers. That was Dr. Lisa Bennett, the ship's science officer and cultural expert. Morrison and Turner headed for the bridge together. Dr. Bennett was waiting with Lieutenant Rodriguez. Bennett was in her 30s, with red hair and green eyes. She had studied alien cultures for 10 years before joining the crew. She spoke 6, alien languages and understood their psychology better than anyone. "Captain, we've received an invitation to the diplomatic gathering," Bennett reported. "All the fleet commanders will be there. They want to discuss trade agreements and territorial boundaries." "I bet they do," Rodriguez said with a snort. "They want to tell us which systems we're allowed to visit and which ones are off limits." Morrison took his seat in the captain's chair. The bridge was small but efficient. Every station was within easy reach. The main screen showed the space around Kepler Station. Alien ships moved in formation, showing off their power and discipline. "What's the mood among the alien crews?" Morrison asked Bennett, confident, arrogant. "They see this meeting as a chance to put humans in their place. Admiral Zektor has been telling everyone that humans should be grateful for alien protection. He thinks we need their advanced technology to survive." "Protection from what?" Turner asked. "From ourselves, apparently," Bennett replied. "They believe humans are too violent and unpredictable to be left alone. They want to control our expansion into the galaxy." Morrison studied the alien formations on the screen. Hundreds of ships from dozens of different species. All of them bigger than the Defiance. All of them armed with weapons that could level cities. The aliens had ruled space for millennia. They had seen species rise and fall. To them, humans were just the latest primitive race to stumble into their domain. "Captain," Rodriguez said quietly, "what if they don't want to negotiate? What if they just want to make demands?" Morrison was quiet for a moment. He had been expecting this question. Earth's leaders had prepared him for different scenarios. The peaceful option was always preferred, but sometimes peace wasn't possible. "Then, we'll show them what humans are really capable of," he said finally. The four officers looked at each other. They all knew what that meant. The Defiance wasn't just a diplomatic vessel. It was a weapon, a very special weapon designed to change the balance of power in the galaxy. Outside the ship, alien crews continued their routines. They laughed and joked about the primitive human vessel. They made bets about how quickly it would surrender in a real fight. They shared stories about human cowardice and weakness. None of them realized they were looking at the most dangerous ship in the galaxy. None of them understood that everything was about to change. The age of alien supremacy was about to end, and it would happen faster than anyone imagined. The diplomatic gathering took place in Kepler Station's main conference hall. The room was huge, with a circular table that could seat representatives from 50 different species. Morrison sat with his three officers, feeling small among them. Alien delegates, Admiral Zektor dominated the table's far side. His forearms gestured as he spoke about Kethtar superiority. Commander Silana of the Velhari sat nearby, her pale blue skin gleaming under the lights. Across from them, General Thokmos of the Bruthan fleet worked his massive jaw, crushing something that looked like rocks between his teeth. "The human presence in this sector has become problematic," Admiral Zektor began. His translator device made his voice sound mechanical and cold. "Your ships disturb our trade routes. Your colonies expand without permission." Morrison kept his face neutral. "We follow all established galactic laws, Admiral. Our expansion has been peaceful and legal." Several aliens laughed. The sound was harsh and mocking. Commander Silana leaned forward, her large eyes fixed on Morrison. "Legal perhaps, but unwelcome. Humans bring chaos wherever they go. Your species is too young, too violent for space travel." "We've had peaceful contact with every species we've met," Dr. Bennett said calmly. She had prepared for this meeting by studying alien diplomatic records. "Human colonies have improved trade and brought new technologies to the region." "Primitive technologies," General Thokmos rumbled. His voice sounded like grinding stone. "Human weapons are crude, human ships are weak. You survived this long only because we allowed it." Lieutenant Rodriguez shifted in her seat. Morrison saw her hand move slightly toward her sidearm. He gave her a subtle shake of his head. "Not yet." Admiral Zektor stood up, his 7-foot frame towering over the table. "Perhaps a demonstration would help. A training exercise between our fleets. You could learn proper military formations from watching real warships in action." "What kind of exercise?" Morrison asked. Simple combat maneuvers, mock battle scenarios. We use training weapons, of course, no real damage. Zektor's forearms spread wide. Think of it as education. You observe, we demonstrate the proper way to conduct space warfare. Morrison looked at his officers. Turner was drawing diagrams on his tablet, probably calculating weapon ranges. Rodriguez was studying the alien formations through the room's large windows. Bennett was translating alien conversations that were happening in low voices around the table. You want our one ship to participate in exercises with your entire fleet? Morrison asked. Oh no, Commander Silana said with a laugh that sounded like breaking crystal. That would be unfair to you. We'll use just a few ships, maybe 15 or 20. Enough to show you the difference between alien precision and human improvisation. The word improvisation came out like an insult. Around the table, alien delegates nodded in agreement. Some made sounds that might have been laughter in their languages. General Thokmos cracked his knuckles. Each finger was as thick as Morrison's arm. My battleship alone could destroy 10 human vessels. This will be over in minutes, unless you prefer to withdraw now, Admiral Zektor added. No shame in admitting your limitations. Humans could stay in this system as observers. Learn from your betters. Morrison felt the anger rise in his chest. These aliens had ruled space for thousands of years. They had conquered countless worlds and enslaved weaker species. Now they wanted to put humans in their place with a humiliating display of power. But Morrison also saw something else. An opportunity. The aliens were so confident that they weren't taking any real precautions. They saw this as entertainment, not a real battle. That overconfidence would be their weakness. We accept your challenge, Morrison said quietly. The room fell silent. Several aliens looked surprised. They had expected the humans to back down, to refuse the obvious trap. Admiral Zektor's eyes gleamed. Excellent. We'll begin in 6 hours. That gives both fleets time to prepare. The exercise will take place in open space near the Xerion Nebula. Neutral observers will monitor everything to ensure fairness. Morrison stood up. We'll be ready, Admiral. As the meeting broke up, aliens clustered in small groups, speaking in excited voices. Morrison caught fragments of conversation through Bennett's translations. Words like massacre and quick victory and human surrender came up repeatedly. The lock, human delegation returned to the Defiance in silence. Once they were safely aboard, Rodriguez exploded. 15 ships. They're planning to destroy us and make it look like an accident. I know, Morrison said calmly. He led them to the secure briefing room where they could speak freely. Chief, status report on our modifications. Turner consulted his tablet. All systems are operational. The new engines are running at peak efficiency. Weapon systems show green across the board. The AI integration is functioning perfectly. What about the special packages? Morrison asked. Turner smiled that unpleasant smile again. Ready for deployment, Captain. They won't know what hit them. Bennett pulled up intelligence files on her computer. I've been analyzing alien fleet compositions. They favor traditional formations and predictable tactics. The Kethtar rely on heavy firepower. The Velhari use speed and precision strikes. The Bruthans depend on armor and brute force. All outdated approaches, Rodriguez added. They haven't fought a real war in centuries. They're used to intimidating inferior species into surrender. Morrison nodded. That's exactly what I'm counting on. They see this as a training exercise, not a real battle. They'll use standard tactics and hold back their full capabilities. And we hit them with everything we have, Turner said. No, Morrison corrected. We hit them with everything they don't expect. Chief, prepare the ship for combat, real combat. Maya, run full diagnostics on all weapon systems. Lisa, I want detailed profiles on every alien ship type we'll be facing. The officers moved to carry out their orders. As they worked, Morrison stared out the window at the alien fleet. Massive ships moved in perfect formation, their crews probably celebrating already. They saw one small human frigate and thought it would be an easy victory. 3 hours later, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported to the bridge. Captain, the alien fleet is moving into position. 15 ships as promised. The World Breaker is leading. Them? along with 3 Velhari cruisers and the Bruthen battleship Iron Hammer. Any signs they suspect our real capabilities? Morrison asked. None. They're treating this like a parade drill. Some ships have crews on observation decks to watch the show. Morrison felt a cold satisfaction. The aliens' arrogance would be their downfall. They assumed that bigger meant better, that age meant wisdom, that experience guaranteed victory. They were about to learn that innovation could beat tradition. Chief, Turner's voice came over the comm system. Captain, all modifications are online. The ship is ready for whatever you want to throw at it. Thank you, Chief. All hands, this is the captain. In 3 hours, we'll show the galaxy what humans are really capable of. We're not just fighting for our ship or our crew. We're fighting for humanity's place among the stars. Today, the age of alien supremacy ends. Morrison settled into his captain's chair and watched the countdown timer on his screen. 3 hours until the exercise began. 3 hours until everything changed. Around the ship, alien vessels continued their preparations. Their crews joked and placed bets on how quickly the human ship would surrender. They shared stories about past victories against primitive species. None of them realized they were preparing for their own destruction. None of them understood that the small, ugly human ship was about to become the most famous vessel in galactic history. The Defiance looked harmless, but looks could be deceiving. In 3 hours, the aliens would learn the most important lesson about humanity. Never judge humans by appearances. They might look weak, but when pushed to fight, they fight. To win. The Defiance moved away from Kepler Station under the watchful eyes of thousands. Alien crews filled observation decks to watch what they thought would be easy entertainment. The human ship looked tiny as it headed toward the designated battle zone near the Zirian Nebula. Captain Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the alien fleet take position on the main screen. 15 warships arranged themselves in a perfect line formation. The massive world breaker sat in the center like a mountain of metal and weapons. 3 Velhari cruisers flanked its left side, their silver hulls gleaming. The Bruthen battleship, Iron Hammer, anchored the right flank with 6 escort vessels surrounding it. They're using a standard intimidation formation, Lieutenant Rodriguez observed from her weapons station. All guns pointed forward to show maximum firepower. Distance to enemy fleet? Morrison asked. 50,000 kilometers and closing, came the reply from the navigation officer. Chief Turner's voice crackled over the comm from engineering. Captain, all systems show green. The modifications are ready for your orders. Dr. Bennett monitored alien communications from her station. They're being very casual about this, Captain. I'm hearing jokes about whether we'll last 2 minutes or 5. Morrison kept his expression calm, but inside he felt a cold anger. These aliens had ruled the galaxy for millennia by crushing anyone who challenged them. They saw humans as just another primitive species to be dominated. Today would teach them differently. Open a channel to the alien fleet, Morrison ordered. The main screen split to show Admiral Zektor's cruel face. His 4 arms gestured dismissively. Human vessel, you have 30 seconds to surrender before the exercise begins. This is your last chance to avoid embarrassment. We're ready when you are, Admiral, Morrison replied evenly. Zektor laughed, a harsh sound that echoed across the bridge. Very well. Exercise begins in 10 seconds. Try to make it interesting. The channel closed. Morrison turned to his crew. Rodriguez, target the escort vessels first. Turner, give me everything the engines have. Bennett, jam their communications when I give the signal. Aye, Captain, came the chorus of replies. The countdown reached 0. Immediately, the alien fleet began moving forward in their traditional formation. They accelerated slowly, maintaining their impressive line. This was how space battles had been fought for thousands of years. Massive ships trading fire at long range until one side broke. They're moving like they're in a parade, Rodriguez muttered. That's exactly how they always fight, Morrison said. Chief, activate the modifications. Let's show them something new. Suddenly, the Defiance shot forward like a bullet. The ship's acceleration was impossible by alien standards. In seconds, it had tripled its speed and was diving toward the alien formation at an angle they hadn't expected. What? Admiral Zektor's voice came over the comm, full of surprise. How are they moving so fast? The alien formation tried to adjust, but their massive ships were too slow. The Defiance had already passed their optimal firing range before they could properly target it. Rodriguez fired the first shots, but these weren't normal weapons. Kinetic penetrators traveling at incredible speed punched through the escort ship's shields like they weren't there. The alien vessel exploded in a ball of fire and debris. Impossible, came shouts from the alien fleet. Their weapons can't do that. Morrison smiled grimly. Human weapons didn't rely on brute force like alien technology. They used physics in ways the aliens had never considered. Kinetic weapons that turned mass into devastating impact. Energy beams that disrupted molecular bonds instead of just creating heat. The Defiance spun around the alien formation in a spiral pattern that no traditional ship could follow. Turner's engine modifications allowed impossible maneuvers. The ship could change direction instantly, defy physics as the aliens understood it. 2 more escort ships died in seconds. Rodriguez's targeting system, enhanced with human AI technology, predicted exactly where the alien ships would be. She didn't aim at where they were, she aimed at where they would be. All ships open fire, Admiral Zektor commanded. Destroy that vessel. The alien fleet unleashed a massive barrage. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles filled space where the Defiance had been a second before. But the human ship was already somewhere else, dancing between the attacks like it was weightless. The Velhari cruisers, proud of their speed, tried to catch the Defiance. They split formation and accelerated to their maximum velocity. For a moment, it looked like they might succeed. Then Rodriguez launched something the aliens had never seen, swarm missiles that moved like living things. They twisted and turned, following the Velhari ships no matter how they dodged. When they hit, they didn't just explode, they burrowed into the hull and detonated inside critical systems. One Velhari cruiser lost all power and went dark. Another started spinning out of control as its navigation systems failed. The third managed to avoid the missiles but flew straight into the Defiance's energy beam that cut it in half. "This is not possible," Commander Silana screamed over the comm. "Our ships are the fastest in the galaxy." "Not anymore," Morrison said quietly. The Bruthan battleship Ironhammer turned its massive guns toward the Defiance. General Thokmos believed in armor and firepower. His ship was covered in plates so thick that conventional weapons couldn't scratch them. The Defiance hit the Ironhammer with everything it had. But instead of trying to break through the armor, human weapons found the joints between plates. Precision strikes that created chain reaction failures. The massive ship's own weight became its enemy as structural supports failed one by one. Within minutes, the Ironhammer was breaking apart like a building collapsing in slow motion. General Thokmos had just enough time to eject in an escape pod before his ship died. Now only the Worldbreaker remained, along with 3 damaged escort vessels. Admiral Zektor's voice had lost all its arrogance. "This is impossible. You're using weapons that violate the laws of physics." "No, Admiral," Morrison replied. "We're using physics in ways you never imagined." The Worldbreaker was truly massive, over 2 kilometers of armor and weapons. Its shields were legendary. Entire fleets had broken themselves against its defenses. But it was also old, built with technology that hadn't changed in 1,000 years. Morrison studied the alien dreadnought. On his screen, he could see the fear in the alien crews now. They had never faced an enemy like this. Their ancient tactics were useless against human innovation. "Chief, prepare the special package," Morrison ordered. Turner's voice came back excited. "Ready? Captain, target locked. Fire." What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. The Defiance launched a single torpedo that looked ordinary from the outside. The aliens barely noticed it among all the other weapons flying through space. But this torpedo was different. It carried something no alien had ever seen in warfare, a controlled singularity. When it struck the Worldbreaker's shields, it didn't explode. Instead, it created a tiny black hole that lasted just long enough to punch a hole through every defensive system the alien ship had. The proud Worldbreaker, terror of 100 worlds, began to tear itself apart from within. Its own gravitational systems turned against it. Admiral Zektor's last transmission was a single word. Please. Morrison felt no joy in victory, only grim satisfaction. The battle was over. 15 alien warships had been reduced to escape pods and debris. The Defiance floated among the wreckage, barely damaged. Across the galaxy, every civilization was about to learn a new truth. Humans were not primitive. They were not weak. And they would not be pushed around anymore. The space around the Xerion Nebula was filled with debris. Pieces of alien warships floated like broken toys. Emergency beacons flashed from dozens of escape pods scattered across the battlefield. The Defiance moved slowly through the wreckage, its hull scarred but intact. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the rescue operations on the main screen. His crew worked efficiently to collect alien survivors. It was the first thing he had ordered after the battle ended. Save everyone. They could. Damage report, Morrison said. Chief Turner's voice came from engineering. Minor hull breaches on decks 4 and 7. Shield generators at 60% power. Weapons systems fully operational. We can fight another battle if needed. Lieutenant. Rodriguez looked up from her station. Captain, we're receiving surrender signals from every remaining alien ship in the system. Some are asking for mercy. Morrison nodded. The battle had lasted only 37 minutes. In that time, 15 alien warships had been reduced to scrap metal. Word was already spreading across the galaxy through emergency broadcasts and long-range communications. Dr. Bennett monitored the alien channels. Captain, you need to hear this. I'm picking up emergency transmissions from the Kethtar homeworld. They're calling for immediate war councils. The Velhari government has gone into emergency session. The Bruthan military is mobilizing all reserve fleets. Are they planning to attack us? Morrison asked. I don't think so, Bennett replied. They sound terrified. Some are calling for immediate peace negotiations. Others want to study our technology. A few are demanding we be destroyed before we become too powerful. Morrison walked to the forward window and looked out at the debris field. Each piece of metal had once been part of a mighty warship. These aliens had ruled space for thousands of years. They had conquered worlds and enslaved species. Now their greatest weapons lay in ruins, destroyed by a single human ship. A communication request appeared on the main screen. Morrison nodded to Rodriguez, who opened the channel. The face that appeared was Admiral Zektor speaking from a rescue pod. The proud alien commander looked broken. His 4 arms were bandaged, and one of his eyes was swollen shut. Human, Morrison, Zektor said slowly. My fleet is destroyed. My ship is gone. I have lost thousands of crew members. I'm sorry for your losses, Admiral, Morrison replied. He meant it. War was terrible even when it was necessary. We're rescuing all survivors. Your wounded will receive medical care. Zektor stared at Morrison for a long moment. How did you do this? Our ships were the best in the galaxy. Our weapons were tested in 100 wars. Your vessel looked like nothing. Morrison chose his words carefully. Sometimes looking weak is an advantage, Admiral. You expected us to fight like you. Instead, we fought like humans. Your weapons, Zektor continued. They should not work. That torpedo that destroyed my ship, it created a gravity well. That's impossible. Not impossible. Just new. Chief Turner appeared on the bridge carrying a tablet full of data. Captain, I've been analyzing the alien technology from the wreckage. Their ships are powerful, but they're built using old principles. They haven't changed their basic designs in thousands of years. Morrison looked at the tablet. Alien technology was impressive but predictable. They had perfected their methods long ago and then stopped innovating. Humans, on the other hand, never stopped trying new ideas. Dr. Bennett, what's the status on galactic communications? Morrison asked. The battle is being broadcast everywhere, Captain. Some alien governments are in panic. The Velhari are asking questions about our drive systems. The Bruthans want to know about our armor technology. The smaller species are very interested in our weapons. Morrison turned back to Admiral Zektor on the screen. Admiral, I want you to understand something. This battle didn't happen because we hate aliens. It happened because your people tried to put us in our place. You were supposed to be inferior, Zektor replied weakly. Young species are always inferior. That's how it has always been. Maybe that's the problem, Morrison said. Maybe you've been ruling the galaxy for so long that you forgot how to learn new things. A new voice interrupted the conversation. Commander Solana appeared on another rescue pod channel. The Velhari's graceful features were twisted with anger and fear. This changes nothing, human. You won a single battle. The combined alien fleets number in the millions. You cannot fight us all. Morrison smiled sadly. Commander, we don't want to fight anyone. We just want to be left alone to live our lives and explore the stars. Then you should have stayed in your small corner of space, another voice added. General Thokmos spoke from his own rescue pod. The Bruthan's massive frame was crammed into the small space. This sector belongs to us. Morrison felt his anger rising but kept it under control. General, space belongs to everyone. The idea that older species have more rights than younger ones is exactly why this battle happened. Dr. Bennett touched Morrison's arm. Captain, we're getting emergency calls from human colonies throughout the sector. Alien patrol ships are pulling back to defensive positions. Some are requesting immediate ceasefires. The implications were clear. Word of the battle was spreading faster than light through the galaxy's communication networks. Every alien government now knew that humans were far more dangerous than they had appeared. Chief Turner brought Morrison another report. Captain, Earth Command is sending additional ships to support us. The entire human fleet is being put on alert. They want us to return to Earth space immediately. Morrison shook his head. We're not running, Chief. If we leave now, the aliens will think we're afraid. They'll plan revenge attacks on human colonies. He turned back to the alien commanders. On the screen. Admirals, commanders, generals, I'm going to be very clear about something. This battle proved that human technology is more advanced than you thought. But that's not the important lesson here. Morrison paused, making sure he had their attention. The important lesson is that humans fight differently than you do. We don't just use bigger guns or thicker armor. We think of new ways to solve problems. And when we're threatened, we don't hesitate to use those solutions. Admiral Zektor nodded, slowly. Your species is dangerous. Only when we need to be, Morrison replied. We prefer peace. We want to trade, to share knowledge, to explore together. But we won't be pushed around. Commander Solana's voice was bitter. What happens now? Do you plan to conquer us like we tried to conquer you? Morrison looked out at the stars beyond the battle debris. No, Commander. We're going to do something your species haven't seen in thousands of years. We're going to offer you a choice. What choice? General Thokmos asked suspiciously. Peace. Between equals, Morrison said. Real peace. Not the kind where stronger species boss around weaker ones. The kind where everyone gets to make their own decisions. The aliens on the screen looked confused. This was not how galactic politics worked. For millennia, power had meant the right to rule others. Morrison continued. I'm going to make you an offer. Any species that wants to negotiate with humans as equals will be welcome. We'll share some of our technology. We'll help defend each other. We'll trade freely. And if we refuse? Admiral Zektor asked. Morrison's expression hardened. Then you'll leave human space alone. You'll stop threatening our colonies. You'll treat us with the respect we've earned today. The communication channels went quiet. Across the galaxy, alien leaders were no doubt having emergency meetings. Everything had changed in 37 minutes of space combat. Morrison turned to his crew. Chief, prepare the ship for departure. Dr. Bennett, compose a message to all alien governments. Tell them we're available for negotiations whenever they're ready. Where are we going, Captain? Rodriguez asked. Morrison looked out at the stars. Home, Lieutenant. But something tells me we'll be back soon. The galaxy just learned what humans can do when we're threatened. Now it's time to see what we can do when we work together. 3 months after the Battle of Xerion Nebula, Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance once again. But this time, the space around them looked very different. Instead of hostile alien warships, dozens of vessels from across the Galaxy floated in peaceful formation near Kepler Station. The station itself had been rebuilt and expanded. New docking bays accommodated human ships alongside alien vessels. Trade routes that had been closed to humans were now open. The galaxy had changed, and everyone was still adjusting to the new reality. Captain, the delegation from the Zephrani Republic is requesting permission to come aboard, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. She had been promoted after the battle, though she still served as weapons officer. They want to discuss defense agreements. Morrison nodded. The Zephrani were a small species that had been bullied by the major powers for centuries. After hearing about the human victory, they had been among the first to request friendship. Grant permission. Escort them to Conference Room 2, Dr. Deere. Bennett looked up from her station. That makes 12 species requesting formal alliances this week, Captain. The diplomatic schedule is completely full. Morrison smiled. It was a good problem to have. Instead of being mocked and threatened, humans were now respected partners in galactic affairs. The change hadn't happened overnight, but it had happened faster than anyone expected. Chief Turner emerged from the lift, carrying his ever-present tablet. Captain, Earth Command wants an update on the technology sharing program. The Velhari scientists are particularly interested in our engine designs. How are they handling the fact that we're more advanced than they thought? Morrison asked, and Turner grinned. Badly at first. Commander Solana threw several tantrums when she realized our basic fighters could outrun their best cruisers. But now they're eager to learn. Pride is giving way to curiosity. Morrison walked to the main window and looked out at the mixed fleet. Human ships worked alongside former enemies on joint patrol duties. It wasn't perfect. There were still tensions and misunderstandings, but it was progress. A communication request came through. Morrison recognized the sender immediately. Put Admiral Zektor through. The Kethtar commander appeared on screen. He looked different than he had 3 months ago. His injuries had healed, but his attitude had changed completely. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something Morrison hadn't expected to see. Respect. Captain Morrison, Zektar said formally. I wanted to inform you that the Kethtar Council has approved the Joint Defense Treaty. My government is prepared to honor all terms discussed. I'm glad to hear that, Admiral, Morrison replied. Your ships will be welcome in human space. Zektor paused, then spoke more quietly. Morrison, I need to say something. When we first met, I called your ship a piece of junk. I thought humans were barely civilized. I was wrong, and that mistake cost the lives of thousands of my people. Morrison kept his expression neutral. He had heard similar apologies from many alien leaders in recent months. Admiral, you acted based on the information you had. No one expected humans to be as capable as we are. That's just it. Zektor continued. We should have expected it. We had reports about human innovation, human determination. We ignored them because they didn't fit our understanding of how the galaxy works. Dr. Bennett had been listening to the conversation. She leaned forward and spoke. Admiral, if I may, your species had been successful for so long that you stopped considering new possibilities. It's a common problem among dominant civilizations. Zektor nodded sadly. The young teach the old, as your people say. My daughter is part of the exchange program now. She studies engineering on one of your ships. She tells me humans think differently about everything. Morrison smiled. The student exchange program had been one of the most successful parts of the new relationships. Young aliens were fascinated by human technology and methods, while human students learned about alien history and culture. How is she adapting? Morrison asked. Too well, Zektor replied with what might have been humor. She came home last week speaking about thinking outside the box and paradigm shifts. I'm not even sure what those mean, but she insists they're important human concepts. Morrison laughed. They are. Maybe she can explain them to you. The conversation was interrupted by Rodriguez. Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Earth. It's Admiral Peterson herself. Morrison straightened. Admiral Peterson was the head of Earth's Space Forces. She didn't make casual calls. Put her through. The screen changed to show a gray-haired woman in a crisp blue uniform. Fleet Admiral Rachel Peterson had been Morrison's mentor early in his career. Her face was serious but proud. "Morrison," she began, "I have new orders for you and the Defiance. The Outer Rim colonies have reported strange sensor readings near the galactic edge. Unknown ships, possibly from outside our galaxy entirely." Morrison felt his pulse quicken. "First contact with an extragalactic species, Admiral?" "Possibly. We're organizing a joint exploration fleet. Human ships, Kethtar vessels, Velhari scouts, and Bruthan escorts. The aliens specifically requested that you command the mission." Morrison looked at his crew. They had been through so much together already. Now they might be facing something entirely new. "When do we leave?" 2 weeks. The other ships are already being assembled. "Morrison, this could be bigger than anything we've faced before. These readings suggest technology even more advanced than our own." After the communication ended, Morrison gathered his senior staff in the briefing room. The news about the mysterious signals had spread quickly through the ship. "So," Chief Turner said, leaning back in his chair, "aliens from another galaxy. Think they'll underestimate us too?" Rodriguez checked her weapon system status on her tablet. "If they do, they'll learn the same lesson the others did." Dr. Bennett was already pulling up star charts and sensor data. This could be the greatest discovery in galactic history. First contact with a completely different evolutionary path. Morrison listened to his crew discuss the possibilities. 3 months ago, they had been mocked and threatened by the local galactic powers. Now those same powers were asking humans to lead exploration missions. "The galaxy has learned not to underestimate humans," Morrison said finally. "We've proven we can hold our own in a fight. We've shown we prefer cooperation to conquest. Now, we get to show what humans are really good at." "What's that, Captain?" Turner asked. Morrison smiled. "Exploration, discovery, meeting the unknown and making it known. The aliens taught us about space war. Now we get to teach them about human curiosity." 2 weeks later, the joint fleet departed for the Galactic Rim. The Defiance led a force of over 50 ships representing 23 different species. It was the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. As they jumped to hyperspace, Morrison thought about how much had changed. The humans were no longer the new kids being bullied by older civilizations. They were partners, respected for their abilities and trusted with important missions. The ship that had once been mocked as primitive junk was now famous throughout the galaxy. Its name was spoken with respect in a dozen languages. Children of every species knew the story of the Battle of Zirian Nebula. But Morrison knew the real victory wasn't the battle itself. It was what came after. The peace, the cooperation, the sharing of knowledge and friendship. The Defiance flew toward the Aida, unknown once again, no longer alone but accompanied by former enemies who had become allies. Whatever waited for them at the galactic edge, they would face it together. Morrison settled into his captain's chair and smiled. The aliens had mocked the human ship until it annihilated their whole fleet. But that was just the beginning of the story. The best part was what humanity built from the ashes of that victory. A galaxy where all species could stand as equals among the stars.